The emergency klaxons had been wailing for 17 minutes when Security Chief Vextar finally located the source of the biosignature anomaly. His 4 eyes scanned the research wing of Galactic Station Kepler-7, mandibles clicking in frustration. The readings were impossible. Multiple unknown life forms, unregistered DNA patterns, and what appeared to be predatory mammals? Impossible, he muttered in his native Zephyrian, his translator automatically converting the harsh clicks and whistles into standard galactic. The station's quarantine protocols are absolute. Behind him, a squad of 8 security officers waited nervously. Each was from a different species, the standard diversity protocol for interspecies stations. But all shared the same expression of bewilderment. In 3 decades of service, none had encountered such confusing biosignature readings. "Sir?" chittered Officer Click, her insectoid form trembling slightly. "The readings are strongest in Section 7 Delta. That's Dr. Morgan's lab." Vextar's heart sank. Dr. Sarah Morgan, the only human assigned to their xenobiology research team, had been nothing but trouble since her arrival 6 months ago. Not malicious trouble, quite the opposite. Her uncanny ability to bond with dangerous specimens had revolutionized their research, but it also gave him perpetual migraines. The Zephyrian remembered the Arcturian acid spitters incident from last month. Creatures so volatile that even looking at them wrong could trigger a corrosive spray that ate through hull plating. Yet somehow Dr. Morgan had been found sitting in their containment unit, hand-feeding them protein cubes while they purred like oversized house cats. "Lock down the section," Vextar ordered. "Full hazmat protocols. Whatever she's smuggled aboard this time." "Chief," interrupted Officer Thane, a massive Gorlak whose rocky hide could withstand plasma fire. His usually booming voice was unusually quiet. "The readings. They're not aggressive. They're sleeping." The security team moved through the sterile corridors with practiced precision, bioscanners painting the walls in soft blue light. The unknown signatures grew stronger with each step, yet the expected chaos never materialized. No alarms from damaged equipment, no screams from terrified researchers, no signs of containment breach. They found Dr. Morgan exactly where the scanners indicated, at her workstation in Lab 7 Delta, hunched over a holographic display showing complex protein chains. Her brown hair was pulled back in its usual messy bun, and she wore her favorite oversized hoodie, the one with Earth University Xenobiology Department printed across the chest. What made Vextar's tactical training completely irrelevant was the fact that she appeared to be knitting. "Dr. Morgan," the security chief announced, his voice carrying the full authority of station regulations. "Step away from your workstation and explain the unauthorized biological specimens immediately." Sarah looked up from her needles, blinking owlishly behind her thick-rimmed glasses. "Oh, hi, Chief Vextar. Unauthorized specimens. I haven't brought anything new aboard since the crystalline algae samples from Proxima 4, and those were fully documented. The bioscanners are detecting multiple unknown life forms in your immediate vicinity," Officer Keelik stated, her compound eyes shifting nervously. Mammalian predators showing significant mass and unusual neural activity. Sarah's face went through a fascinating series of expressions: confusion, realization, and then something that could only be described as sheepish guilt. She glanced down at her hoodie, where the fabric seemed to be moving slightly, rising and falling in a rhythmic pattern. "Oh," she said softly. "Them." With infinite care, Sarah slowly unzipped her hoodie. The security team raised their weapons instinctively, then froze in complete bewilderment. Nestled against her chest, curled up in the warm fabric pouch of her hoodie, were 3 of the most impossibly adorable creatures any of them had ever seen. Small, furry, with tiny pink noses and paws tucked neatly beneath them. Their chests rose and fell in perfect synchronization, tiny whiskers twitching as they dreamed. "These," Sarah whispered, "are Terran domestic cats. Cubs technically, though we usually call them kittens. They're about 8 weeks old." The silence stretched for nearly a full minute. Officer Thane was the first to speak, his gravelly voice barely above a whisper. "They're sleeping." "Yes," Sarah nodded, still speaking quietly. "They do that about 16 hours a day at this age. I found them in the cargo bay during the last supply run. Someone had abandoned them and they were nearly dead from cold and hunger." Her voice hardened slightly. "I couldn't exactly let them die while I filed the proper paperwork, could I?" Vextar found himself in the peculiar position of trying to maintain authority, while staring at three impossibly small predators who were clearly more interested in napping than conquering the galaxy. His security training had covered hostile aliens, dangerous specimens, contamination protocols, and diplomatic incidents. Nowhere in the manual did it address the proper procedure for adorable stowaways. "Dr. Morgan," he began, then stopped. One of the kittens had stretched, revealing a tiny pink tongue as it yawned. The sound that escaped his translator was something between a sigh and a mechanical malfunction. "They're not dangerous," Sarah continued, gently stroking one kitten's head with a single finger. "Cats have been humanity's companions for over 9,000 years. These three have been vaccinated, scanned, and are in perfect health. I was going to report them once they were settled, but—" She gestured helplessly at the sleeping pile of fur. Officer Kalick lowered her weapon entirely, her antennae twitching with what Vextar recognized as curiosity rather than threat assessment. "They're pack animals? Social creatures, yes. They form strong bonds with their caregivers and with each other." Sarah's voice took on the warm tone she used when discussing her research. "Humans and cats evolved together. We domesticated each other in a way. They hunt the pests that steal our food, and we provide shelter, warmth, and protection." The gray kitten shifted slightly, pressing closer to its siblings. The black one made a tiny chirping sound in its sleep. The orange tabby simply continued to purr, a sound so soft it was barely audible but somehow filled the entire lab with contentment. "Regulations clearly state—" Vextar began, but his hearts weren't really in it anymore. "I know," Sarah interrupted gently. "No unauthorized biologicals. Full quarantine protocols, species documentation, and approval processes. But Chief, look at them. They're babies. They needed help." And there it was. The thing about humans that simultaneously frustrated and amazed every species they encountered. Their absolutely inexplicable compulsion to care for anything small, helpless, or in need. It defied logic, violated evolutionary survival instincts, and had somehow turned them into the galaxy's most effective peacekeepers and diplomats. Humans would risk their own safety to rescue enemy wounded. They'd share their food with starving strangers. They'd adopt the abandoned young of species they'd never encountered before, simply because those young needed care. It was, Vextar reflected, both their greatest weakness and their most terrifying strength. "The paperwork will be a nightmare," he said finally. Sarah's smile could have powered a small moon. "I'll handle all of it. Medical records, behavioral assessments, long-term care plans. I've already contacted the Xenobiology Board about establishing a companion animal program for long-term station assignments. Mental health benefits, you know." The orange kitten chose that moment to wake up, blinking enormous green eyes and looking directly at Security Chief Vextar. It made a tiny mewing sound, stretched one microscopic paw, and settled back into sleep. Vextar's tactical computer crashed. "1 month," he heard himself saying. "You have 1 month to get full approval and documentation. And they don't leave your quarters without supervision." "Thank you, Chief." As the security team filed out of the lab, each officer found excuses to walk slowly past Sarah's workstation. Officer Kalick lingered longest, her compound eyes fixed on the sleeping kittens with something approaching wonder. "Dr. Morgan," Vextar called from the doorway. "Next time you decide to smuggle adorable predators aboard my station—" "Yes, Chief?" "Use the proper forms." The last thing he heard before the lab doors closed was Sarah's delighted laughter, followed by the soft rhythmic purring of 3 tiny engines of chaos, dreaming peacefully in their human's hoodie. In his security report later that evening, Chief Vextar would write, "Biosignature anomaly resolved. No threat to station security. Recommend immediate implementation of Dr. Morgan's companion animal proposal. Also recommend increased sedative allocation for security chief quarters." He did not mention that he had already sent a message to his mate on Zephyr Prime, asking about the possibility of acquiring some of these cats for their own household. After all, their younglings were having trouble sleeping lately, and surely such peaceful creatures could only help. The cubs, meanwhile, continued napping.